we have a Jan 6 suspect demanding that he be given access to sensitive documents. Let's have a look at that. This is from the Kansas City Star. A Topeka man charged in connection with the Capitol riot is asking a federal judge to order the government to turn over sensitive material that he says shows undercover officers inciting protesters. Do recall the projection present in GOP accusations. William Pope, whose charges include 2 felonies, has filed a series of motions asking U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras to compel the government to provide him with documents he says he is entitled to have because he is acting as his own attorney. Good God, not advised. The government is violating his rights, Pope argues, by failing to give him full access to the discovery material and release documents deemed sensitive and highly sensitive that he says show police encouraging protesters to breach the Capitol on January 6th. I want to remind you, not that I think you've forgotten, but just so we can highlight the oddity of this request, I want to remind you that police physically fought with those protesters to keep them out. In addition, after they lost the fight, they then tried to direct protesters in a way that steered them away from Congress. Exercising my constitutional right to represent myself as the officer of the court in my own case necessitates that I have full access to discovery. Oh, this guy. Pope said in a recent motion, the government's opposition to granting me full discovery access denies me due process and creates an undue burden limiting my ability to adequately confront witnesses and accusations. Attorneys representing the Jan 6 defendants are given full access to the discovery databases, thank you, in order to prepare a defense, Pope said. The same access, he said, should be available to defendants acting as their own attorneys, except it is called exculpatory evidence, and they absolutely turn that over. A hearing in this case is scheduled for Friday in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. The debate over the release of the Capitol security footage from Jan 6 intensified last month when, here we go again, when House Speaker Kevin McCarthy faced criticism, rightly so, that's my own editorial, for granting Fox News host Tucker Carlson exclusive access to view more than 40,000 hours of video. On Tuesday, McCarthy said he would soon make access available to the broader public and to lawyers of defendants, good Lord, charged in connection with the insurrection. Think about the thing they're charged with and ask yourself if you want them having unfettered access to the layout of the Capitol building. I don't. In Pope's case, the government argues that he should not have access to the discovery because of concerns about national security, yes, and privacy interfering with the investigation. Do remember that yesterday we talked about Joseph Hutchinson, who was also acting as his own attorney. And he also used that to get special treatment from the court. He said he wanted to go see another defendant, a friend of his, as a matter of fact, somebody he was at the riot with, apparently. What did they do? Well, the reason he said he wanted to see that case is so he could see how it was done. And the judge let him. I mean, he said he wanted to see how the case played out so he could prepare his own defense. And the judge allowed him to do that despite the fact that they were both accused of violent crimes against police. Think about this. Would a gang member be allowed to go be in the vicinity of another gang member during their trial? Guess what they did? They fled. Another compatriot of theirs already fled the country and is living in Belarus. I wouldn't recommend the judge trust these particular cats. The government said Pope already has access to some body-worn camera footage, there we go, and U.S. Capitol Police surveillance video, and is allowed to view discovery under the supervision of an officer of the court, an actual one. He may possess materials that are marked sensitive, it said, as long as they are secured and in a safe place and are used solely in connection with his case. Pope's objections to the proposed solutions, the government said, are not rooted in concern with building his defense. Yeah, I should say not. But rather in a desire to engage in a fishing expedition. Don't give this guy nothing. It seems unadvisable. Let's talk about what you can do. Well, look, the thing to do on this one, just watch your local news or follow your local news and stay on the lookout for major January 6 cases in your area. If you see something like this, if you're, for example, from Topeka, Kansas, and you see something like this, and you see a January 6 defendant actually getting the special treatment they request, just be wary of it. Be ready to make a scene on social media. Be ready to generally make your community know that you see it and you disagree with it, if that is what's going on. The reason for this being, as I stated earlier, so much of the mishandling, so much of the kid gloves given to these folks happen as a result of the powers that be thinking we're not paying attention. So our priority has to be to make it clear that we are paying attention. The easiest way to keep track of this, so that you're not swamped with all kinds of J6 things that are ultimately going to be irrelevant to you, keep an eye, keep a hairy eye on your local news. And here's the important thing. If you find that there is a mishandling of a case, contact local news stations in your area and make sure they're planning on talking about it. That has a massive, one or two people contacting the local news stations has a massive impact on what they cover. And if it looks like they're failing to cover a January 6th piece of corruption, contact them and say, Channel 7 did this last night. When are you guys going to talk about it?